Hello, everybody. Okay, I I am the CEO of Starfleet, the USS Southern Cross. Um, we're down in Australia, in Melbourne. For those non-Trekkies, CEO would represent a president of a club. So I am Wayne, the. Call me Q if you really wish to. No, just call me CEO.
A very humble captain.
And that voice is our security chief, Annabelle.
Hello.
So, Annabelle, by all means, introduce yourself.
Hello.
Oh,
I don't know what to say.
that was a
I'm the
big
very
introduction.
incompetent Starfleet officer. I should
Um,
know my lines by now.
if this was
Hmm.
scripted, we'd be all right, I think.
We'd be fine. We should write one next time.
Probably. What are we
uh,
doing? Look, we're basically a Star Trek club. We meet up on regular basis at conventions and away missions. We do a lot of stuff online. We do movie nights online. We do chats. And then we decide at the end of movie nights, for some reason, it starts off as a talk about a great episode. It ends up being let's tear this episode apart.
I
Um,
can't shut up, is what it becomes.
I didn't say that. I'm not disagreeing with it, but look, Annabelle is a very. How do I put this politely? Annabelle's and I
Just
gave,
don't put it
them,
politely. You can insult me. It's all right.
I gave them the chief of security, which is even a more worrying factor. Which
Oh, yeah, I think it
now that
is. Well,
yeah, Annabelle's a very opinionated individual. So am
I
I.
have lots of thoughts. Okay.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts too. And so we've we've all watched or we've recently watched a DS9 episode called Rivals, which is actually a weird little episode that kind of
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't fit anywhere. It's one of those episodes in the first two seasons that kind of don't really do anything. They kind of just sit there.
No.
So basically, for those of you who don't know the episode, and if you're
You
listening to,
want to give a plot overrun for us?
oh, I'm not fussed. You can give the plot over. I'm not.
I don't even know.
Okay, I'll give the plot over. For those of you who don't
Good.
know the episode, and if you don't know the episode and listening to a Star Trek podcast, which is a really interesting situation, it is basically in season two, episode 11. It is based around a con artist who tried to compete with Quark. And it's got more con artists in this episode than I think Ocean's 11 has, to be honest.
There's a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, there is, and you don't realize how many there are until kind of the end of the episode, which is actually quite funny.
It's a
Um,
very fun. Yeah.
You've got as Martis Mazur. I'm hopeless with names, so
Just call him his first name.
I'm
Marcus.
just calling him Martis. He's played by
Almost Marcus.
Sarandon. He's actually a great actor. I actually love this guy. He's
He's
funny,
played
but
by Prince Humperdinck.
he's yeah. I've been trying to remember where he what episode what film he.
I can't watch this episode without seeing Prince Humperdinck. So
Yeah,
for the
no, you're
for the
right.
rest of this podcast, I'm calling him Prince Humperdinck because I cannot remember this man's name. So
But I love Prince. Oh, we're gonna actually digress and go into Princess
okay,
Bride.
no, no, let's not go to let's stay on topic, okay? We
Oh,
have to try
it's
stay on topic.
us staying on topic. That ought to be an interesting
It's
thing.
gonna be, yeah, well, we need
Um,
to make a honest attempt.
okay. So basically, the opening scene is that he comes into Quark's bar and he's trying to con a lovely old widow out of her life savings, and Odo comes in and arrests him, and they he puts him into his brig. He meets this weird old alien, which I got to admit, he looks like a cross between a Nausicaan and a what was the race of in Voyager? The
There's a lot of.
Oh, I know the ones
They
at the
meet a new one every episode. Okay.
oh, I am hopeless with this stuff. The Khazar, that's it.
Uh-huh.
Cross between a Nausicaan and a Khazar. Um, as people have told me, like the Khazar have the still wool hair, but that's another digress. He gives him a game after he kind of Masters takes the game after the alien dies. It's this kind of weird luck game.
It's this very. It's sort of very morbid at the beginning there too, because he goes, "I've had very bad luck," and then he wins the game, has good luck, and then dies right afterwards, which is like his good luck rating just gave him death, which is a very morbid beginning to what is eventually a very fun episode. But
yeah, all right, I'll give you that. It's yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but you're
it's
right.
a dark moment for the beginning of a Deep Space.
But even I had to say it, even the death scene is quite
It's a little bit funny.
It is
Yeah.
quite humorous. So he takes the game, decides to turn the game into, he replicates it into larger games, and then competes against Quark, and that's the whole episode.
Well, there's a much funnier B story that happens as well.
Yeah, I don't know what was
with
going
my
on
two
with
favorite people, Siddiq Fadil and Colm O'Meally, being
I
the
don't know
wonders
what
that they are.
happened with the B story. It kind of at some point became the A story. How did that
Yeah, I
happen?
know. They stole it. They stole it away. It's supposed to be this little side thing where because Prince Humperdinck has made a new club with these fancy machines, Quark decides to make O'Brien and Bashir play a game of racquetball so that everyone can bet on who's going to win.
Hang on, it's a
So
21st
they'll go back to
century
his club.
racquetball.
Oh yes, yeah, it's a different kind of
Yeah,
racquetball.
it's got the weirdest bats. I don't know how you hit anything straight with those stupid rackets.
I don't think they're supposed to. They bounce off the walls and everything.
It's
Bit
an
of a
acrobatic game.
it is for Bashir.
Yeah, but Bashir's he's just weird. I'm sorry. I do
I
like
love this
Bashir.
episode because of Bashir. I'm sorry.
I like Bashir, but he's a weird bloke, all right?
We spent the first two seasons up until this point, and all we get out of Bashir is that he's a bit of a bastard and he's a bit of a womanizer. And this episode sort of puts him in more of like he's just very silly. I don't know, the episode makes him
I'm not certain they knew what to do with Bashir, to be
Oh, they
honest.
had no idea. It's so funny because also thinking about this episode with big Deep Space Nine spoilers about to pop up, is that later on it's revealed that he's genetically engineered and like he spent his entire life trying to hide that. And I'm like, Bashir was not trying to hide that this episode. He was just
No, he was all over that.
absolutely wrecking.
If you
O'Brien.
actually, if you'd watch the whole series and then watch certain episodes, you kind of see how did we miss that he wasn't genetically engineered? Because
Yeah.
but I
think it's hilarious. There's an episode later on with ambassadors, and they're literally about to die in a fire, but Bashir doesn't have the strength to open the emergency door pull open. And I'm like, Bashir, are you still trying to hide that you're genetically engineered, even when like you and four other people are going to die? It's just because the writers had no idea.
No, they didn't. They
And
knew
they keep
had to have
forgetting.
they had to
Even
have a
after
doctor
it's
in the
revealed.
episode, in the series. You had to
I
have a doctor.
know.
But I think they brought Bashir in, and then they decided, well, now we've got him. What do we do with him? He's a bit of a he's a bit annoying.
I know. He's much better in the later seasons.
Yeah, I agree. I think
once they figure him out a little bit more and don't just like use him as cannon fodder. But
he was annoying. I mean, he almost at the very first couple of episodes in the first season, it was like nobody liked him.
He is very annoying, especially to Dax.
Which especially to Major Kira too. Kira doesn't.
Oh yeah.
Kira,
I
I
know.
think, wanted to put him out the airlock. It's a few
Kira
episodes.
definitely wanted to put him out the air.
There was no mucking around with that. This
Yeah.
one, he was. I think he came across as that kind of individual that you would find at either school or a company that was just. He just did everything right. And even when he did things wrong, it came out right. And he was just that
Yeah.
annoying person who would parade around in a very expensive suit all the time or never do anything wrong, and be sitting at lunch by himself, kind of thing. And I don't mean that to sound disrespectful to anybody like that, but that's the kind of personality they created with at the very beginning. And I got to applaud whoever decided to take Bashir under their wing and change his character, because he wasn't a likable character.
I think it makes him, for me at least, it makes him much more likable in the later seasons when you see him have this sort of growing moment. It's why I get really pissed in season 7 when they suddenly turn him back into season 1 Bashir. And I'm like, dude, he went through all of this character development. Like, why are you doing this? It
Gee,
makes me.
Annabelle, don't hold it back. Let us know what you really feel like about this.
I'm telling you, right? No, because Bashir's one of my favorite characters. I think he's very interesting, especially the way that he interacts with other characters.
I think
I
in
find,
I think in this one he was a bit. They made him look like a bit of a snob.
oh, 100%. I think that's like the point. He's got a very fancy British accent, and we're very sympathetic to O'Brien the entire time. I think he's sort of
Yeah,
played
I
as
think
the.
also at some point until O'Brien. I think the one scene in this episode was when O'Brien and Bashir figured out that there was something wrong with the game. That
Oh
showed
yeah,
them for the first time. That showed, especially O'Brien, in this episode, uh, that he was the more mature person. Because up until then, he was looking like a bit of an immature person. Like,
yeah,
oh, I
sore loser.
lost. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're a Starfleet officer, you're the head of chief engineer, and now you've cracked it because you lost a ball game? What?
Yeah, but it's the start of their friendship. That's the whole thing because like before this point, they hate each other. They don't like talking to each other.
Oh,
I mean, no one
yeah,
likes talking to Bashir, and they don't get along well. And then there's certain episodes later on where they're like really close friends. And so this is the beginning of that sort of really close friendship that,
oh, yeah,
you know,
I kind of agree with you. I think it was at the big, like around here, that they started to figure that two things. One is that they had to start changing Bashir's character. Um,
yep.
like how he interacted with everybody and him personally. They needed to grow him up. They needed for him to grow up. And I think at this point also, because there wasn't anyone else who was pairing up realistically at this point, they needed to have this kind of um buddy system. And I think you saw it in this episode. It might have been a brief glimpse of it, but it was there if you actually look hard enough. That they were actually setting the tables to start these two off as a great friendship. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a weird way to do it, but I think it was there.
Yeah. I think it was interesting. Well, okay, the racquetball thing was supposed to be a reoccurring situation for these two, but they turned it into the dart board because that's much easier than setting up a whole separate set. But it sort of is.
I have to
If you
ask.
think about it that way, then this is the very beginning to that whole situation. Every other episode, we see them at the dartboard in Quarks, just hanging out with each other. Like,
I have to ask, and I don't know what you think of this, but this has troubled me every time I've watched DS9 from start to end multiple times, and for me, DS9 is my favorite.
it's my favorite too. I've watched it so many times. My family's annoyed at me.
But I've watched this episode, and and each time I've watched it, it just sort of built up more. Why would O'Brien build a racket court, take up space, physical space, in a space station which has limited space, go up into the holodecks and create the same thing on a holodeck?
I think that's kind of the point.
Because that
It's a
over
little
the
bit
last-
ridiculous. If we're
couple
going to
of
talk
times-
about that, we have to talk about the weird ass spinning neutrinos luck machine.
yeah, I've been trying to avoid that,
makes
but it's
no sense. Okay, this whole episode makes no sense. That's why it's so much fun, because it's typical Star Trek, where you go, what is actually going on? There's so many plot holes here,
yeah.
but we're just enjoying it.
It was, I think, truthfully, the main characters, which was Martis and Quark, the agitation between them, I think it wouldn't have worked if they hadn't have used those two.
Yeah, I think they were a good sort of. That was the actual thing that was going on. We weren't so much concerned by Bashir and O'Brien. It was just sort of a little side tangent that was going on. I like the way they intersected, though, when we got the whole, O'Brien suddenly gets spectacular luck. But I don't think it would have held the whole episode particularly well if that was the main storyline.
I also think this is one of those episodes which, and I get into trouble for saying this on multiple levels. I think this is one of those episodes which is just, how do I put this in one of the kind of like a fluff episode. It doesn't.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. It has no plot. It's got no plot in it, realistically.
No, and no, okay, except for the O'Brien thing, it starts and it ends at the exact same point in time. Like nothing happens.
I don't even think. Yeah, everything goes back. It's like you reset the whole episode. You start off.
See, this is the nature of how television was made. I mean, the same thing happens in Next Gen. There's no continuing storyline. I mean, Deep Space Nine does a good job of mixing its interlinking stories with its standalone episodes. But episodes like this are sort of what, Star Trek started on. Singular episodes that don't have any continuation on plot that can be enjoyed without understanding anything about what's going on. You can just put on the television and start this episode and you're like, okay, I know who these characters are. I know what they're playing. I don't have to have any prior information to this point because everything that you need to know gets brought up again. Like, if you didn't watch the first episode and Quark's talking to Cisco about the deal that they made, they explain the entire deal in its entirety. You don't need to have watched that episode to understand that deal. Quark just fully explains what's going on.
We've talked about this on a couple of videos that another crew member and I have done, and we call it the Star Trek reset button.
Yes. Yeah, I kind of like it because I like knowing that no matter how terrible things get, everything's going to be fine by the end of the episode. Especially Next Gen. The entire ship could blow up and everyone could die, but you're just like, everything's going to be fine because this is a Star Trek episode. And they're going to hit the magical reset button and it's all going to go back to normal.
There is points when the reset concept works, but I think in Star Trek, they used it too often.
Oh yeah.
They used it
too
often.
Until you get to like Enterprise and Modern Trek, it was just, I think most television was like that, whether you watch an episode of MASH or an episode like, it was all like that. It was just start end, simple plot lines.
I personally, look, this isn't one of my favorite episodes. And
how dare you?
Yeah, I know.
No, it's structurally not a very good episode. I just want to start with something fun and lighthearted, so I don't have to sit here and talk about fascism with you. I don't want to.
So how did we get onto that subject?
We're gonna have fun and watch a little episode about a guy trying to scam multiple women and also Quark at the same time.
And then they decide. Now, this episode, the funniest thing reminds me of this episode It reminds me of the episode with Q and Vash, where they do a very similar thing, where Quark is trying to sell off an ancient item, which becomes an
Yeah.
egg, to be truthfully honest.
And
But
then Bashir and Sisko go in there because it's causing some
it's causing
huge
some
issue. Yeah.
weird issue on the ship, which is very similar to this episode. It's you've just taken Q out, you've put a con artist in, you've got the
I
woman
know. Well,
taken
this is
over
what I
Varsh's.
love because Prince Humperdinck is the same species as Guinan is, and they were gonna have Guinan in this episode, and I feel like Q and Guinan have met before. That's the whole thing. It's very
I
reminiscent
didn't
of.
know they were going to have Guinan in this episode.
Oh, in the original script, they couldn't get Whoopi Goldberg.
I
The
didn't know
script
that.
changed a couple of times from what I have read. And there's little tidbits throughout it to make you so that you know that Prince Humperdinck is the same species as Guinan is.
But this
Sprinkled.
makes it interesting too. Throughout all of Trek lore and canon, whichever word you want to use, I mean, I'm open to either. El-Orians are basically made out to be this incredibly sophisticated, really unknown species. And then in this episode, Odo just says, "Oh, I know who you are and where you come from." I'm thinking, well, hang on, where's that happen from? I mean, supposedly there's not many of them left in the galaxy, and
Yeah, and somehow.
everybody seems to know about them.
Wait, I'm just gonna chuck the quote here so you can look at it.
Intent was to make. Oh, I didn't. Oh, that one would have been. Oh,
I know.
that comes back to multiple episodes. By the way, you tell whoever's listening. We may only get one listener, by the way. Tell whoever's going to listen to this what you just put up in front of me.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read this quote out. This is from a article on tor.com about Deep Space Nine, the episode Rivals. This makes me stop here. Just says the original intent was to make Mazur one of Guinan's sons and have Guinan show up. But Whoopi Goldberg was unavailable, so all F references to Guinan were removed. Mazur is established as an El-Orian, and Star Trek Generations will establish Guinan as being one of that same species. Certainly the hints are there that Mazur and Guinan are of the same species with all the references to listening.
That's crazy. I'm sorry.
It feels very weird because Guinan and Prince Humperdinck are nothing like each other in terms of character.
No, and it would have, I think, if they'd done that, truthfully, it would have destroyed Guinan's character in the next gen because it would have made
I
her
think so.
very unsympathetic to her children, and she'd always been this, like they've always portrayed Guinan. Once you're a friend of hers, you're friend.
Massively empathetic and compassionate and protective.
But
Yeah.
she doesn't care about her own children. I think that would have destroyed everything they did in the next generation.
Yep.
So I'm glad on that respect they didn't just down that.
Whoopi Goldberg, thank you for being unavailable to do
Yeah,
Space Nine.
that could have. I think that would have done a lot of damage to Guinan's character and everything they plotted through the next generation.
Yeah.
Look, I like the
idea.
Though. Don't get me wrong, I like the idea, but if they were going to do it, I think they would have had to have changed Humperdinck's. See now, and now I'm even doing Prince Humperdinck.
It just makes sense.
Entire character, and I don't think that would have worked.
No,
I think they needed him to be more Quark.
A womanizing sleazebag.
Yeah, they really did. I think they needed that for whatever they were trying to get in this episode. They needed that to happen, and making him more like Guinan. No, it wouldn't have been as funny. And I think if they'd taken the funniness out of it or the humor out of it, they wouldn't have had much of an episode.
No, the episode is entirely just fluff and fun and
it's
Quark.
kind of Like
The
the old
Quark.
vaudeville. And I know you're probably not going to know what vaudeville is. And
No.
I've never seen vaudeville. I'm not that old.
Okay. Sure.
But vaudeville was the old what they used to get up on stage and used to do the comedies and the weird kind of one-liners and the
Oh,
it was
like stand up.
yeah, it was where most of the original, like, Bob Hopes and all that, they cut their teeth on vaudeville. And
Right. Wow.
that's kind of what it's kind of what it is to me. We've got a whole series of unconnected components coming up on stage doing their little bit, but they're not connected to one another. And that's
Yeah.
basically what it is. You've got all these bits and pieces. Nothing of them is connected to the next piece.
No.
Try to connect it with the racquetball or the super racquetball, space ball. I don't know what it is.
Space racquetball.
Yeah, and the con artist. They try to do that, but when I like I like the piece where Quark is trying to plead with Bashir and O'Brien and saying, "Look, the poor children," and you can see tears on O'Brien's faces. That's kind
I
of
love
the whole
Bashir's
thing.
face during that whole thing because he has like this. I don't know. Siddiq Fadil just does a wonderful job of making him go, "I'm so pissed too." The poor children in like 5 seconds of acting.
That's the whole. That's the actual feel. The way those two looked at that split second in the scene was exactly the way the whole episode felt. And look, as I said, it is not my favorite episode. It is not by far my worst episode.
No.
If I was going through them to watch the series again, I'd jump over that.
I wouldn't. This is quintessential.
No, I'd jump over that.
No, see, I think because I've started to make a list of episodes to watch because I did it with the original series and now I'm doing it with Deep Space Nine. And it's interesting how many I still enjoy that aren't at all related to any plot things. I sort of differ on you at that point. I think that some episodes are just fun for the point of being fun. And
I don't have a problem
situation
with that.
going on between.
I haven't.
If it makes me laugh, if Dax has her feet up on the console and Kira trips over her own feet, I'm gonna watch the episode.
Look, I get it, and there are some what I would call just standalones. They have no reason for being there. I just see them as a complete and utter standalone episode. I do like some of probably more of the DS9 standalones because they're actually really good.
They're still very deeply character based because that's what Deep Space Nine does best.
And there's always, they may be a very heated moment, but there's always some sort of humor involved, which goes back to, I think, the original Star Trek movies. You watch, the motion picture, and I know you want to attack the motion picture.
I don't. I love the motion picture.
No, I didn't mean attack. I meant talk about it. I do want to talk about it. Yeah, I know you want to get your teeth into the motion picture, but
okay, look, I'm a Spock fan. That is the Spock movie. Okay.
Well, take my word for it, everybody. Annabelle isn't just a Spock fan.
I am a Spock insane person. I don't know what to tell you.
Annabelle is, if there was another word more than obsession, that would be where Annabelle is.
Yeah.
Come on, admit it.
Yeah, I admit it. Okay, I could talk about Spock forever. We can't do that right now, so we have.
No, I mean, in the original movies, they're my go-to. I probably hone in on the original movies more than anything because I
love those movies. Yeah.
But they're getting points across, but they got the humor involved, right? I think that they get that perfectly balanced, which makes why they're so good. In DS9, because you've got such straight characters like Garrick. Now, Garrick can be a straight character, can also be a complete.
Garrick is not a straight. I completely disagree with you. He is never straight. Literally, in the entire thing, he's always lying or making a joke or having some fun. Like 24/7.
Next Generation, there wasn't as much humor involved.
No, there was a lot of very ridiculous things played seriously, I think,
Yes, and
in
there
my
was,
opinion.
and DS and Next Gen was realistically one of the last ones that had standalone, like episodical. So you watched one episode
Yeah.
and you could move on. You could miss a whole season and it wouldn't really matter.
Oh, I always skip the first 2 seasons. I go straight to season 3, and it doesn't make a difference.
I'm a big. I like watching all of them. Um, I know the first 2 seasons are a little bit.
They're very slow, and the only
Yes,
sort of thing that I'm interested in is Tasha Yar, but I hate the backstory they gave her with the burning passion, and so every time that comes up, I just get really pissed.
I, yeah,
I sort of
I agree with you. I think for me, why DS9 is held in my heart so much is because the characters that you start off with are not the characters you end with.
yeah.
Now, in Next Generation, yes,
There's no
there is
okay. The only development I'd say the only development I see particularly is Worf, Picard, and what's her name? I'd say Beverly the most. Those three,
I'd
I can't see
say,
anything happen with the other people. They sort of start the exact same personalities they have when they end. I mean, you could talk about Riker and um oh my God, Diana.
yeah.
But they still sort of they have the same relationship they had at the beginning of the series, at the end of the series. It's just now they've sorted it out. I'm like, you haven't gone anywhere.
I
You're in the
think
same position.
I think for me with Next Gen, actually Deanna is the one that changes the most.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't see her do anything.
I think Deanna is the one that changes the most, and I don't and I don't mean her clothing because she goes from as Deanna herself
I hate.
says. Oh, I forgot her real name. It's gone. We're into characters' names, and I can't get out of
Oh, I
characters.
love that actress. She's so.
She goes from the cheerleader to the we're not
Oh,
certain
I
what.
suppose, yeah, because she goes into the command course, doesn't she? And then she
Yeah,
becomes the, oh my God, I've forgotten about that. It's been a while since I
there
watched
is
the
an
last
interview
one.
with Mia Sata. That's it.
Mm.
There is an interview with her, and she said she never liked being in that tight
The
costume.
form-fitting,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
jumpsuit
she
onesie
wasn't connected
situation.
to the crew. She was
She looks
outside
terrible
the
too.
crew.
I'm sorry. When she changes to the actual uniform,
Yeah, she loved that.
absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. She looks
She
in
loved it.
command. It's fantastic.
She'd actually wanted to do that seasons earlier, but they held her off because they wanted her to be this. Well, they're not really. She really.
Because of Rick Berman. No, so in the
Whoa,
first episode,
that one's a low
sorry,
blow.
sorry, it's low blow there, right? We won't get into that conversation. No, because
No.
in the pilot, she wears that uniform, and she does a wonderful job. And then after that pilot, they put her into
Yeah,
the blue or the purple, and she wears that until like
she
what,
never liked
season
it.
5 or
She
something. It was
A lot of fans, when they got her into the uniform, actually wrote into the studios and said, "Oh, I'm sorry about that. You've been forced to do this." She came out with an interview saying that, "No, this is the best thing for my character. I've always wanted to get into the uniform, and now I feel part of the crew," which
yep.
makes sense.
Star Trek likes making their women sexy in slim little, like
Yes,
talk about freaking
yes. You're
fucking
right.
that.
I hate to
Like,
say it.
if
I
they
mean that.
can put their women that these okay, I'm sorry, but Next Gen was really
No,
like, we have more women here. And then they were like, yes, but our women is the healer and the person that listens to everybody, and they're both gonna be really sexy. And I'm like,
yep,
okay,
I
that's
know.
great.
That's
Thank you
a
so
whole
much.
podcast by itself, just attacking that.
Yeah, I
But
know.
that's a podcast that could get us into a lot of trouble.
I could talk about feminism in Trek for a very long time. So let's talk
Look,
about rivals.
I just think in DS9, the characters were deeply thought
Oh
out.
yeah, I think they were very
Problem is,
they
in
felt
this
like real
episode,
people. They weren't just archetypes. They were like
no,
actual characters.
in this episode, I don't know what happened to all their good writing and all their characters. It got
No, I
sucked
know.
out by the airlock. They were all running around completely stupid. I'm sorry,
I
but
know. Okay, no, but that's why Quark absolutely shines in this episode.
yeah, Quark, I have to
He
give
is
you.
wonderful.
I
Okay,
will
Armin
agree
Shimmerman is
completely on
so good.
this. Quark was probably the standout character in this.
Yeah, like
I
he
have,
normally is. I
um,
mean, we're both Quark fans
I
here.
love the Ferengi. This is why I think I love DS9 a lot because I love the Ferengi and I love the Klingons. And in DS9, you finally get to see these two. But
And
uh,
they go together, and we get
oh,
to see Quark be the.
I
Oh, we're gonna do
think
that episode next. That would be great.
I actually thought about this as I watched it today again. I watched for anyone who's for our one person who will listen to this. I did
Yeah. Hello.
rewatch. Yeah, I did this episode this morning just to get it back in my head, and I kind of thought for a split second, would it have been funny or would it have worked if we'd kept Martis around for a while? And then I started thinking two con artists on deck at once.
I think it would take away from Quark too much, honestly.
I
I
was
like.
I ended up at that point. I think
Mm,
you might have been able to get maybe another one or maybe two if they were scattered over a longer period, where either Quark had to see Quark got his revenge at the end of the episode where he had to bail Martis out.
yeah.
Maybe later on, Martis had to bail him out, and then the final one is Quark finally gets his absolute revenge on Martis or something.
Odo has to bail them both out.
Yeah, well, that would have. I think Martis was actually. He's a good actor. Chris Sarandon is a great actor. Or sorry, um, um,
Prince Humperdinck is a great
thank
actor.
you. Prince Humperdinck is a great actor. He is a very underrated actor. He's a brilliant actor. When he gets going, and I think giving him another couple of episodes would have been hilarious with between him and Quark. It would have
Yeah, that
funny but it would have had to have been written really well. I think.
yeah, I was about to say like you could do some really stupid stuff there
Yeah,
that I don't think would you'd have to change the way that Quark interacts, I think, because this episode does a very good job of keeping Quark's character
and
as quirky as it could possibly be
that's
without like
Quarky. Oh, we're coming up with
but
words now.
I need a new adjective without making Marcus Prince Humperdinck to
Look, I think.
genuinely evil. Because the thing about Quark is that he's like fun evil. His
Well, look, no,
his
I think Quark portrays this facade that he wants to be this evil, do anything and hurt anybody to gain latinum. But when it comes down to the crunch,
he's not that person at all.
he's a soft tribble inside,
Yeah.
basically. But he won't admit
Oh,
that. He
I'd
won't.
love in the alternate universe. Sorry, more spoilers. When he's like found out that he's actually bailing humans off Deep Space Nine, like you could tell that Quark's like personality persists even in alternate universe. He's still trying to. There's a little bit of good hidden
Yeah,
behind his little scheming.
in
Yeah,
in a Ferengi, I think Quark is. Um, I think Quark is the ultimate Ferengi, to be honest. He's that devious enough, but he's got a compassionate side, which he allows his actions to be governed by.
yeah.
Um, I still like Brunt from the. Don't get me wrong, I love.
Brunt FCA.
Yeah, I love when he turns up. I kind of love the interaction. He's just hilarious.
Fuck. We have to watch that one too. My favorite goddamn Star Trek episode is the one where he takes all of Quark's stuff away, and then everyone on the station comes
Yeah,
and brings him chairs and alcohol to sell, and I'm like, oh my god, they're just a big family. Like
it's.
he
I like
pretends to
Brunt.
be this person, but like,
There's no way to get around that. I think I love the way they brought the Ferengi into DS9.
They're so when you watch Next Generation, you see the Ferengi. They are nothing like how
no
they're portrayed in Deep
no
Space Nine.
no
You get none of the like depth of their
they
characters. They're just
weren't
like,
meant
oh,
to
little
be.
greedy men. You're like,
They weren't meant to make a sorry, I take that back. They were meant to make reappearances on occasional, but they were meant to be this kind of um,
side characters.
almost barbaric kind of animalistic kind of creature, right?
Yeah.
That's what they were meant to be. When you see them in DS9, the very first time I saw them in DS9 for the first time, they were a completely different species.
Yeah.
There's no other way to explain them. They're not the same species that you see in Next Gen. They're not. They're completely away from it. You
I
don't
know.
see the whip anymore. And you see them walking upright, not hunched over like some sort of animal.
Yeah.
And they're not, and their biggest battle was what one ship against another ship, and a few people got 6 people got killed or something. That's their
Yeah.
entire frame to a war.
Yeah.
If you put the two Ferengi species together from Next Gen and DS9, then they're nothing alike.
I like to think that the Ferengis in Next Gen were just really, really terrible. They're out with their ships, attacking spaceships, being like, everyone back home was just laughing at them because they didn't have enough lat. Like,
I could just see them if they did a parody cartoon. That one of their marauders would turn up, and they'd be shooting platinum or something instead of torpedoes.
Yeah.
Don't shoot anymore. We're running out. That's 4 bars
That's
of
our
platinum
last
with
bar.
They go out with it, and so don't use your latinum torpedoes.
Rule of acquisition number 63.
I I do. It's one of the big reasons why I love DS9 is because of the Ferengi. You can't
Yeah.
get around it. I think for me, and I don't know about anybody else, I think for me, DS9 would not have gone as well without the Ferengi.
No, I agree with you, honestly.
You needed them. You needed them to be there, and I think
it's because Quark is he's the center, but he's also like a bit of comic relief. He's a bit of a reoccurring plot point. He's
he's
a very
his own straight man and comedian. He comes rolled up in one package. He
I
doesn't
know.
straight man. He is his own straight man. And I think
Yeah.
Shimmerman basically
He did a wonderful job playing that character. I'm sorry, but it just the line delivery, the way he walks, the way he talks, just makes him such a likable character.
I completely agree with you on that. There's no. I think if they had gone with anyone else to do it, it would have been a failure, complete and utter failure.
Yep.
I mean, he was the lead Ferengi in that in Last Outpost, Next Gen. He was the lead Ferengi, and he was the first one they went to when they wanted to bring Ferengis in.
Good.
Because I think it was Burnham, or I think it was, I'm not certain, said that
probably was.
There was not another Ferengi. Basically, he was Ferengi. He was Ferengana, and that was
he embodied it. He did such a good job.
Yeah. There was no other way around it. I think with Nog, Nog was a good.
I love Nog. So
yeah. I don't think
people don't. But
no, I love Nog.
Okay, like to give, I think it's really good that Jake has a friend, and I love the whole storyline that he ends up getting, where he sort of tries to be the first Ferengi in Starfleet and be the sort of gateway between the Ferengi philosophy and the Starfleet philosophy.
Yeah.
I think it's a really fun way of humanizing the Ferengi instead of just making them some little goblin creature that likes money. Like it goes, no, actually, this is a full person from a specific cultural society, and they can do the same things in Starfleet and have a unique perspective. And I think that gets really well encapsulated in Nog's whole transformation through,
I
you know,
think out of all of them, Nog probably transforms more than any other character throughout there. I mean,
he turns from like a little scrappy guy into a literal like veteran of war.
yeah,
So,
I think he
with
epitomizes
post-traumatic
what
stress disorder, man's is not okay.
I think
It's
he epitomizes what DS9 was able to do.
yeah.
I honestly do, and I think um, basically I love Rom too.
Yeah.
He you think he's a complete fool, and then he just keeps coming up with these incredible things that
That's the funnest part about Rob. It's like the reoccurring joke of Morn. It's like the Morn reoccurring
oh
joke, but the
yeah,
reoccurring joke is instead of him actually being stupid, he's actually really intelligent.
yeah, and
Which
then
is like
for him to become the Grand Nagus was just hilarious. I
that
mean,
was so funny.
that was just I love
Um,
Quark's and Rom's mum, Moogie. I mean,
oh my God, don't
I
get me started
wish
on
she
Mookie.
could have been in
Feminist
more.
goddamn icon. I love her so much.
I wish she could have been in more episodes, to be
I
fair.
wish she was in every episode.
She just to watch the two of them interact, or the three of them interact, was
Three
just
of them interacting, and her interacting with the Grand Nagus, and
it was
oh,
just hilarious.
all of it is wonderful. It's
Well, funny thing is, you've kind of got half of, or a good proportion of the Princess Bride in DS9, so
you really do after all
you're
of
not
it.
too far wrong by bringing them together on that. I mean,
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife.
you've got the Grand Nagus, which was Zevik,
Yeah.
who so you're not too far wrong connecting them too. Look, overall, I'm not a fan of this episode. Okay, but that's me.
How dare you?
I know. I'm the CEO
How
of the
dare you
ship.
not like the fun
I
Bashir
know.
episode?
I think there's going to be a mutiny on this ship sometime.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm gonna plan it. I've already
Yeah,
got three
I
people. We're
don't
gonna
doubt
do
that. Look, I just think it was look, even though the actors did a really good job in it, I think the premise and the actual writing and the plot was actually just very poor.
I agree with you. But I agree with you in with a caveat, and the caveat is that I like it anyway.
That's up to you, but this would be, as I said, one of the definite ones I would jump over. I wouldn't watch. I've watched it twice in probably more times than the two times I've watched it recently, the more times than I've watched in the last few years. So
Wow, okay.
it's one of the ones I would bounce. For me, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
There's no plot there. There's no story. There's no nothing. And I can put up with really silly stories, but this one has got just absolutely nothing in it for me to watch, apart from some of the good acting and one-liners that go on in there.
You don't like Bashir hitting the racquetball around?
Um,
Sorry, I'm just messing with you.
yeah,
Yes, I can see exactly what you're saying. I can see why
belting the
you'd skip over
racquetball
it
and bouncing into the wall.
and wearing that really funny outfit.
Yeah, you've got to give Star Trek. They love putting their actors into some weird outfits.
They really do. Yeah.
I'm not certain. You can
Here's
go.
a bit of fun. I have fun facts. I have two fun facts about that
Oh
outfit for you.
God. Okay.
Okay, I got to give you two. Number one is that Siddiq Fadil is usually padded. He had a big padded jacket that he wears underneath his Starfleet uniform, but he's not wearing it underneath that one. So that's the first time that he actually doesn't wear all of the padding
Okay.
underneath his clothes, just as like a by. Second one is during the shooting of this scene, during one day of filming, Siddiq Fadil decided to get a huge cucumber and stick it down his pants, and no one said anything. And I think you can still see it in some of the shots.
Okay.
I know. I
I'm
don't know what was going through Siddiq's mind, but
I'm not really certain where to go with that.
I know. Those are your fun facts about this episode. That's just some of them.
Um, yeah. Cynic actually wasn't this immature little child that he played. He was a very
It's a very serious actor
well,
and a lovely person.
yeah, but he did like to play jokes on set.
Oh yeah.
And some of the actors got very annoyed with him, supposedly.
Oh gosh.
I can't remember. There was an article I read a long time ago, a really long time ago now that I think about it.
Yeah.
They were saying that some of the actors did try to get Alexander off one day by annoying him because they got sick and tired of the things that he did, but it backfired on them all. He was just so good at what he did, so
Yeah.
they just wanted him to get off from doing it to them every time, because every time they turned up, something would happen.
Oh yeah.
And it got into the factor that everybody got involved. Shimmer would get involved.
Yep.
Renee would get involved. So it got a little bit annoying, I suppose, after a while. Although I could see myself doing that if you were there.
The best part of the episodes are learning the tidbits and learning what pranks Siddig pulled.
Oh, I
the
love
back.
reading the little bits after episode, like you find like about the episode, and then you read the bits afterwards that happened afterwards, and you think, yeah, that's more fun than the actual episode was.
That's more fun than the actual.
Look,
Yeah.
end of the episode, you actually find out that the woman he was Captain Prince Humperdinck was trying to con out of her money was
actually conning him out of his money.
Yeah, and I thought that was just hilarious when you saw her walk in and go into the brig. That was just
It's a very good moment, and you can see like Prince Humperdinck's face where he goes, "What?" Because he's not actually a very good con artist, and you can, if you were paying attention, you can sort of tell in the very beginning that she's pulling the same thing that he's pulling during that initial conversation. But she does it continually for the entire episode. She's like, "I need $10,000 more," and he's like, "I can give that to you."
I like the factor that she was a better con artist than he was.
Yeah, just pull a 180 on him.
Tenfold.
It was really fun.
I just realised who the other lady was.
The Bajoran lady.
Yeah, the Rona. She's the was she the lady who played in the original series?
Oh, she might have been. I wasn't looking that close at her face.
Hang on, give me a sec.
Okay. He's gonna go through the cast list now. I'm gonna pull the episode up to see if I can recognize her.
He looks like the lady out of the TOS episode, where you saw, who did Warp Drive on Earth?
There's two.
No, who was the scientist who created Warp Drive?
That's the movie. That's the Generations movie.
It's gone completely out of my head.
Oh my god.
Cochrane.
Why is it going out of the... Oh, yes. Oh, it might be. Might be. It does kind of look like her, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like her. And I'm thinking that would be Metamorphosis. That's it. Hang on.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is, but it looks like her.
It really does.
I'm not kidding. I've never seen anybody who looks so much like her.
Don't think it's the same lady from this anyway.
It's not because
Eleanor Donahue.
yeah, but boy, does it look like her.
Very similar face.
That just it looks so much like her. In
I'll have
that
to do a TS.
in that facial way, which I'm looking at on the internet, it looked really a lot like her.
No, they look very similar. I just probably just did the same searches that you did.
Yeah, you put them face together, and yeah, that's just
Yeah.
weird. That is really weird. Maybe it's the way they put her hair up and everything like that. I look at it and I go, gee, that looks very. I completely digressed off where we were there for a second. This is what
Talk
we
about
do,
actors.
everybody. I'm not
You
kidding.
just have to have side tangents where you figure
We
out
have
which
side
actors do
tangents all the time. It's actually surprising we've stayed on topic as long as we have.
Yeah, we've stayed very well on
I
topic.
know.
We're
What's
still
going
talking
on
about the
with us?
episode. It's been like an hour.
We don't normally get stay on topic this long.
No.
Look, we have movie nights once a month. We usually have a bit of a chat afterwards. I am anticipating to try and put one of these up a month. And hopefully Annabelle might be there. I don't know. It depends what
Woo.
happens after. Look, if we can get other people, we just decided to do one quickly this time.
If more people want to, be insane with us about, very normal, enthusiastic about Star Trek with us.
Just making it sound like we're completely wackos.
We are completely wacko. Don't even try to pretend.
We're simply the last one we watched. I forgot to record it. So I will record the next chat we do after a movie night, and I will put it up, and hopefully there'll be more voices. Or Annabelle and I can do multiple voices, and which will sound better.
Yeah.
And it will sound reasonably more pathetic, but I will try. All right. I think we've bashed this episode.
I think we've just about exhausted our
See, I don't
repertoire.
like it, and Annabelle loves it. So
If we talk about something next time, we'll talk about In the Pale Moonlight, and then we'll be here forever.
oh no, I love that episode, and it is one episode that I will not
I know.
attack because
No, but you could just gush about it the entire time.
no, it's one of those episodes that you kind of, for me, I think you just leave alone. It's that kind of episode. It's so
But I
poignant.
want to talk about the political ramifications.
Yeah,
of
I
that
know where
goddamn
you want to go.
Pointed episode. It's a very emotional episode. It's
I know where
very.
you want to go.
Okay,
We
sorry.
could do the one on the Bell riots. I think that's
Ooh, that would be
there's
fun.
a lot in those two episodes that go on. See, it's got everything I love. It's got science fiction, it's got Star Trek, and it's got time travel in it.
It's got misogyny. We could talk about. I'm gonna be here for a very long time.
I'm not kidding. I'm going to have to give you a list of things you can't say. And
Yeah, I know. We're
pretty
gonna
much
get to that point.
the whole of the English language. By the
It'll just be don't bring up feminism too often. No, I have to bring it up. We have to talk about it. But no, those episodes are very good. They're very pointed episodes.
I like the Bell Wright one because it's a very poignant one, but
And a very relevant one.
well,
I'd say.
but it's a bit easier to go at because it was when it was originally.
It's more fictitious. I think it's a little bit more.
That's what I was getting at. It's more fictitious when it was created. In the Pale Moonlight, that one, it's one of those kind of ones where the story itself, like the actual premise or the synopsis of it, is somewhat fictitious, but it's based in a lot of reality. And it's kind of
but it's just such a good character.
It is.
It's such a deep look at Garak and Cisco that I think it's so.
It's one of those ones. Yes, I agree with you completely. You can't move away from that.
So it's a whole turning point for Cisco's entire character moving forward. Like it's sort of been underneath the presence, but after that episode, his whole like
well, look,
worldview has
let
been
me have a
tested to
let
be.
me rewatch it and get it into my head, and we might be able to touch. But I wouldn't mind doing. If anyone else has not figured this out, we seem to be hanging around DS9 a lot, so just accept that. I
We
think.
both really enjoy it. We could do a TOS episode, but I will get very talkative if Spock is there, which he almost certainly will be.
He
So
is. He's in every episode.
exactly.
There is a couple of TOS ones that I don't mind. That have
I
got.
have some ones that I detest, and then I have some ones that are my absolute
Oh,
favorite.
hang on. We've got
So
you on saying you detest some. That's an
I
interesting.
detest them because I actually can't watch them. Like the weird ass Nazi one, I can't watch it. It makes me
Yeah, all
so
right.
uncomfortable. And the Native American one, even more, I cannot watch them. They make me so uncomfortable. So
I don't.
yeah,
I know. I'm not trying to start but I don't mind that one because I like the concept of the preservers.
it's an interesting concept. It just makes me personally very uncomfortable.
All right.
Like
So
it's
I
not like
need.
they're promoting that. Okay, it's specifically in the Nazi one. They're not promoting any kind of anti-Semitic behavior. It's just like the whole, the whole. It gives me the ick. It makes my skin crawl. It feels like a trivialization of something that is so massively terrible and traumatic. I'm like, I don't. Yeah. Anyway, I
Okay.
can't watch it.
So for our one listener, there are some episodes we can't go anywhere near because of
When
editing.
we're not
Uh,
going to touch him. I'm not going to touch him with a 10-foot pole.
I do like the one where in TOS where Kirk goes on a court martial.
That is a great episode.
I
I love that episode.
I like that because you get to see a part of Star Trek you don't get to see again realistically until the Next Generation, and they
And I
touched
think
it a couple of times.
it's the start of the evil admiral, you know,
Yeah,
the
I
evil admiral freaking what is it called? Stereotype, whatever you want to call it, that
yeah.
continues even into like Strange New Worlds, the evil admiral.
Yeah, let's not get started on that particular episode in Strange New Worlds. I think that was poorly done, to be truthfully honest.
I have some feelings about Strange New Worlds, so we're not gonna,
But I do like the court martial one where he goes on court martial. For me that's a very it's a good one because you get to see parts of Starfleet and the Federation that you don't they didn't really touch on a lot. And you
and
get to
it's a
see
cool episode just from the concept of how he like faked his own death. I think that's the twist in that episode was
I
really
like
well
the
done.
fact
The writing in it.
I know that they didn't have a lot way to go, but I like the fact that you get to see how the laws and legal parts are interacted into Starfleet.
Yeah.
And it's in that one, it's a completely different way of doing it than they do it in the Next Generation. All of a sudden, anything to do with Starfleet officers in Next Gen become part of the JAG. In this one, it's not. It's almost an independent legal system, which is and again, when you get into Strange New Worlds, it's different again.
Yeah.
So it's actually really interesting to see. Although
That all started.
I have to give Strange New Worlds, for one thing, they did kind of keep it close to, or as close as I think they could, to what they did in the original series when they did the court martial scene. I think they actually paralleled the two as closely as they could. So they didn't try and make it a JAG office situation alone, which I think was actually a shout out to the original series, which I was glad. I just think the whole premise for the court martial was ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that, not to be a lot of Strange New Worlds I find particularly ridiculous. So I'm just gonna.
All right.
No.
If
No,
look.
there's a lot of episodes we can do in TOS. I
Oh,
have a whole list here.
oh,
Like,
that's what worries me.
there's a lot of good ones. There's good ones.
I'm not disputing that. All right, look, I think we pull this up before we just get ourselves into a lot of trouble.
Yep.
And whoever listens to this, I'm hoping, I'm pretty well certain you're not going to take anything out of it at all.
I hope the rambling helped while you did the dishes, or sewed something, or did your work on the computer.
They've probably jumped out of a building or something by now. You might have to
Probably,
edit
yeah.
out that I've just said
They're
that.
crying on the floor. We'll just have to.
Yeah. Look, I hope everybody whoever listens to this finds something in it that was interesting. Annabelle is extremely good at what they do. Very passionate.
I'm here. I like talking.
I'm just a complete fool. And I have still no idea how I became CEO of this motley bunch, but I am, and I'm proud of it. We will do another one shortly. We might do a couple just to get us up to date with a few. Because we only do movie nights once a month. So and this
We might drag some more people into this. So
yeah, this could be a good thing for some people. That they don't have to listen to us on a regular basis.
yeah, I know. They don't have to watch the episode with us. They can just
Yeah. All right. Look, to everybody and anyone who listens to this, I hope you get something out of it. I hope you understand that we do this for fun. We are a group of friends, almost a family, who get together and just talk about Star Trek. We just love Star Trek. We are a club. I will have information down the bottom, our email address. If you would like some information of how to join and get involved in this in complete and utter chaos, we're a friendly bunch. Weird, but friendly. All right.
yes.
Everyone, I will say goodbye as the CEO, and Annabelle.
Goodbye. Diftoch Jesusma. Live long and prosper.
Okay. With that, see ya. Hang on.
Just awkward silence. I love it.
Yeah. Oh,